It is the ending of another week today, and I welcome you to our National Assembly Weekly Update, The Maize. I am Rosemary UKOKO-TEGA. Top stories for the week. Laying of 2024 budget by President Tinubu before National Assembly.
An aggregate expenditure of 27.5 trillion naira is proposed for the federal government in 2024.
Defense of FCTA's supplementary budget by Minister Wike. Stay with us for details and the complete package on DSTV 392, Star Times 127, Free TV 507, on the UHF band on channel 38. Check out all editions of The Maize on our YouTube channel, ASO Radio and Television. Like our page and subscribe as well.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
You're watching The Maize on ASO Television. One major activity of the week was the laying of the 2024 budget by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, before the joint session of the Senate and the House of Representatives. This happens to be the President's first budget. Titled Budget of Renewed Hope, President Tinubu presented a 27.5 trillion naira estimate for the 2024 fiscal year. The proposal, according to the President, is to address priority areas of the present administration: security, education, general infrastructure, among others. Now, a quick view of the financial documents shows 9.92 trillion naira for non-debt recurrent expenditure, 8.25 trillion naira for debt servicing, and 8.7 trillion naira for capital expenditure. The President also announced plan to grow the economy by a minimum of 3.76%. This is above the predicted world average, with inflation expected to moderate to 21.4%. For more information on the financial document, here is the President on the podium.
The budget we now present constitutes a foundation upon which we shall erect the future of this great nation. Despite lingering post-COVID supply and production bottlenecks, armed conflict in various parts of the world, and restrictive monetary policies in major economies, we expect global growth to hover around 3.0% in year 2024. The Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning will be providing full details of this proposal. The 2024 appropriation has been themed Budget of Renewed Hope. Defense and internal security are recorded top priority. Human capital is the most critical resource of national development. Accordingly, the budget prioritizes human development with particular attention to children, the foundation of our nation. A more sustainable model of funding tertiary education will be implemented, including the student loan scheme planned to become operational by January 2024. By allocating resources to support innovative and environmentally conscious initiatives, we aim to position Nigeria as a regional leader in the global movement towards cleaner and sustainable energy. Distinguished members of the National Assembly, the revised 2024 to 2026 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, MTEF, and Fiscal Strategy, FSP, set out the parameters for the 2024 budget after a careful review of development in the world oil market and domestic conditions. We have adopted a conservative oil price benchmark of $77.96 per barrel and daily oil production estimate of 1.78 million barrels per day. We have also adopted a Naira to US dollar exchange rate of 7.50 per US dollar for 2024. Accordingly, an aggregate expenditure of 27.5 trillion naira is proposed for the federal government in 2024, of which the non-debt recurrent expenditure is 9.92 trillion naira, while debt service is projected downward to be 8.25 trillion naira, and capital expenditure is 8.7 trillion naira. Nigeria remains committed to meeting its debt obligations. Projected debt service is 45% of the expected total revenue. The budget deficit is projected at 9.18 trillion naira in 2024, or 3.88% of GDP. This is lower than the 13.7 trillion naira deficit recorded in year 2023, which represents 6.11% of GDP. The deficit will be financed by new borrowings totaling 7.83 trillion naira. Strategically, 298 billion naira from privatization proceeds and 1.05 trillion naira drawdown on multilateral and bilateral loans secured for specific projects. Distinguished senators and honorable members, this budget presentation will be incomplete without commending the patriotic resolve of the 10th National Assembly to collaborate with the executive on our mission to renew hope and deliver on our promises to the Nigerian people. It is with great pleasure, therefore, that I will lay before you this distinguished joint section of the National Assembly, the 2024 budget proposal of the federal government of Nigeria. May we collectively chart the course towards a brighter and cleaner future for our great nation. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Now, before the President's laying of the national budget, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, addressed this session, pledging accelerated legislations to address issues of insecurity and others.
The President, distinguished and honorable members, maintaining a cordial relationship with the executive arm has always been a requirement of the law. But now, given that our own boys run the executive, a good relationship with the executive is a must for all of us. Never have we had so many bridges and connection points between the two arms of government in Nigeria. This is a significant milestone in our nation's journey toward progress and development. The presentation of the budgetary estimates sets the course for our nation's fiscal policies and priorities for the coming year. It is an opportunity for us to deliberate, scrutinize, and collaborate in order to ensure that the budget aligns with the needs, hopes, and aspirations of our people. Therefore, the National Assembly bears a great responsibility in the task of reviewing and approving the budget. We fully understand the weight of this responsibility and the impact our decisions will eventually have on the lives and on the welfare of the Nigerian people. It is our duty to ensure that the budget reflects the principles of transparency, accountability, and inclusiveness. Consequently, we will certainly conduct a very thorough and meticulous review of the estimates we are about to present to us.
Speaker of the House, Mr. Tajuddin Abbas, gave the vote of thanks, committing to, among others, thorough examination of various aspects of the budget proposals, including economic feasibility, allocation and utilization of funds, and sustainability of proposed fiscal policies.
In order to promote economic growth and development, the 2024 budget should prioritize social welfare programs to help reduce poverty and inequality. Equally important is job creation and youth empowerment in view of the large and ever-growing youth population. Failure to do this means failure to invest in our future. This budget must also prioritize investment in education and healthcare, which is critical to human capital development and a more productive workforce. Infrastructure development is another critical area of importance, which is crucial for economic growth. The biggest challenge, however, is balancing these priorities within the constraints of available resources. In view of this, and the related challenge of high level of public debt, the National Assembly will ensure that the 2024 budget includes concrete strategies for sustainable debt management, including measures to increase revenue and control expenditure. Specifically, the focus should be on raising more revenue through tax reform, fiscal reform, subsidy reform, foreign exchange convergence, and centralized revenue collection. Your Excellency, I cannot conclude my remarks without highlighting some of the perennial problems that have hampered the budget process in Nigeria. These are well known to Mr. President, who is an experienced ex-legislator. Although the government budget is an important tool for economic management and promoting growth and development, it has generally not met the expectation of improved service delivery and development. This has largely been due to challenges relating to budget enactment, budget implementation, and budget oversight. The well-known gaps in the various stages of the budget process underscore the need for budget reforms, including altering relevant sections of the Constitution and existing laws to strengthen the budget process and transform our budget into an authentic tool for development. For this reason, I propose enacting a Budget Act to strengthen the budget process and promote development outcomes. This is a well-established practice in democracies across the world. Mr. President, let me, on behalf of my colleagues in the National Assembly, assure you that I will give this bill the utmost priority it deserves. Where we would give it accelerated consideration, we will diligently scrutinize it alongside Nigerians to ensure that when it is passed, it will be a budget that best addresses the most critical needs of our people.
We also have here a number of functionaries and lawmakers commenting on the financial document as presented by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Alhaji Atiku Bagudu, leads us here.
Well, I'm quite pleased to be here to witness this budget, the 2024 budget, as he rightly said, is further to cement those macroeconomic achievements where the investing public, the international investors, are showing confidence in the reforms that have been undertaken.
More importantly, the President was able to capture very copiously the issue of national security, human capacity development, particularly the youths, the teeming youths, young men and women. I think the budget will act as a stimulus package to address the current poverty line that Nigeria has fallen into, and once again recover our economy and fertilize it for even growth. Naturally, consistent with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is an annual budget, and the meaning of annual means yearly budget. And what do you have in a calendar year, January to December? I think this is something that is going to bring back the sense of expediency to our citizenry. The President has provided his proposal. An international document I saw, the proposal is bold and courageous. I think that the legislature will have little or not too much work to do, really, frankly speaking, as it has to do with the document.
This important ritual that we witnessed today is very important for our democracy, right? You had the President come and present the budget proposal, and in line with our constitutional mandate, the National Assembly is going to scrutinize the budget, and we hope that we'll be able to pass it in the next few weeks. Some important points for you to note is that it came in good enough time for us to be able to carry out the necessary scrutiny ahead of it being passed before December 31st, because Mr. President has said, and we agree, that we should align it the financial year from January to December. So we're going to have a budget that's effective before January 1st.
About 45% debt servicing. That is not bad, except that we are borrowing more. Remember last year, debt to GDP was about 6%. Now debt to GDP is about 3%. And we have a deficit financing of about 8.7 trillion. And that means that we're going to fund that from external borrowing. I mean, it's a fairly interesting budget, and it's on infrastructure development. There are 11,886 abandoned federal government mega projects in Nigeria. Is that not worrisome? If you complete about 3 or 4 of them, like Ajaokuta, then you retain your earning, and that will reduce pressure on the foreign exchange, and that will be very nice. So I think above all, averagely, it's a very fair budget, except that we have to look at the area of funding, the area of borrowing.
In a nutshell, you can see that the budget is quite different from the previous budgets that we have had, where debt servicing is more than what the capital expenditure should be. Now the capital expenditure has been risen to about 8 trillion, which is unprecedented. So I believe that this budget is a budget that will kindle and renewed hope of Nigerians.
People. So it's not about the amount of money borrowed, or for me, first of all, it's about the revenue to be generated internally. And then how this translates to the well-being of the people. So if people are still paying the same amount of money in terms of rent or petrol or whatever it is, there's a problem. So we need to have a budget that will be meaningful to the well-being of the people at the end of the day. That is what matters. It's not about 24 trillion naira or how many billions of dollars. That's not what the common man in the street wants to hear. He wants to hear how this will impact on him or her life.
Already, the Senate has extended sitting by Thursday and Friday to commence debate on the general principles of the budget proposal. Maybe this is so that the president did state in his presentation that he wishes to maintain the January to December cycle. Leader of the Senate, Senator Bayemi Bamidele, on this.
By and large, I believe that this is one budget that will speak to the urgent and critical needs of Nigerians, in all strata. Well, one thing that is clear and critical is the fact that we are all resolved to ensure that there is no retrogression in terms of what our budget cycle will be. The good news about the January to December budget cycle is that when you do that, it makes it possible for our budget and the fiscal regime to be predictable. For us in Parliament, there's no doubting the fact that it's going to be a Herculean task, but it's a task that must be done. What we intend to do is to be back in plenary. And of course, we are going to devote the whole of Thursday, the 30th, and Friday, the 1st of December, to the debate of the general principles of the budget, of the Appropriation Bill 2024. And after that, we will adjourn, for the number of days as will be agreed, in plenary, to allow different committees take on ministry, departments, and agencies who will be coming to defend, their budget estimates. So this will be done, and there's no doubt in the fact that the next 2 weeks is going to be an extremely busy period, and every day for us will be a legislative day. Even though we will not be in plenary session, but our committees will have to sit during the week and on weekends as it may become necessary. We also have an understanding with Mr. President that during the period of budget defense, no honorable minister or head of agency will be traveling out of the country in a way that will make it impossible for them to come and defend their budget estimates. So if we're able to do all of this, we are sure that in 2 weeks, the various committees who, for the purpose of budget passage, will act as subcommittees of the Committee on Appropriation, should be back with their report, submit such report to the Committee on Appropriation so that the Committee on Appropriation can collate the reports and then bring them back to plenary session when we reconvene.
For a long time now, especially since the COVID-19 era, the Senate have been sitting Tuesdays and Wednesdays. However, the leadership is extending to Thursday and Friday to allow for quicker perusal of the national financial document as presented by President Tinubu. Now, shortly after the laying of the budget by President Tinubu was another budget session of the House Committee on Federal Capital Territory, FCT, with the Minister, Barrister Ezenwo Wike, defending the FCTA's 2023 supplementary budget of over 61 billion naira. The minister told the committee the budget is targeted at completing some critical projects ahead of President Tinubu's 1 year in office.
The committee decided to invite you with your team to give us details and why this money is going to decide the agencies under you for utilization. So, Honorable Minister, please go on with your request to the committee so that we can look at it.
Mr. Chairman, this supplementary budget is based on the fact that as at the time the 2023 appropriation was done, we have not received our Paris Club fund. Luckily, we were able to receive our Paris Club at the tune of 25.7 billion naira. And then we are being owed by several federal agencies in terms of remittance of payee. So we struggled to make sure that those agencies, through the Office of the Accountant General, pay us our IPs to payee, which other states have been paid for quite some time, and our efforts yielded, and the Accountant General remitted the sum of 28.5 billion. Again, there was special intervention which Mr. President, through the palliative fund, gave to states and FCT, and that fund is 5 billion naira. And we had also infrastructure support fund from the federal government, as was also given to other states before now. We got 7 billion naira. And then we have some IGR, which we never contemplated, which was an increase. And that gave us 9.4 billion. Now, we can't spend this money without coming back to the House to appropriate it. Of course, you know that when we came on board, virtually all contractors left the site. And so we have to say that we will apply these funds to some of the projects. Particularly, we have a target. Mr. President has signed a memorandum of understanding between FCT and other MDAs. Deliverables, first quarter, second quarter. But how it is concerned is that there are some projects we are targeting that must be completed in the first quarter. And we had arrangements with the companies, and that agreed that if funds are made available, they'll be able to complete these projects, which we used to mark 1 year in office of Mr. President. I believe that if you give expeditious approval of this supplementary budget, what you will see from next year will be something different.
Honourable Minister, I want to thank you for these wonderful ideas that I'm seeing on paper, but at the same time, there is an area of concern to me. I've taken time to listen to all you said, but I found out that not much is said about the rural communities that we have in the federal capital. And these rural communities house even more people than the city. And if we're talking about congesting the city, we cannot do it without developing the satellite towns and our rural communities. There are some roads I can mention now. The Bushere-Kawu Road is an important road that the FCT started some time ago, but it's abandoned. And such roads were not mentioned. Most of our satellite town communities we have here, if you go down to the roads, there's nothing to talk about. If you go down to Kubwa is completely dilapidated roads. Okay. And this is a huge satellite town that accommodates a lot of people. It's a thing of concern. And again, most of the hospitals we have today in Abuja were built by the military government. The suspect civilian administration has not done much since the inception of this present dispensation. So I was waiting to hear what you want to do also about our hospitals. Because today in Abuja, I know that sometimes when people get to the hospital, you see them discharged, even with pregnant women that deliver, that their conditions are not yet stable, were discharged because there are no available beds to accommodate them. is a serious concern to me. So this is one area that I'm looking at. And our schools. Mr. Minister, in Abuja here, children are studying on a bare floor in FCT, a state governed by the President of the Federal Republic. Children are studying on the bare floor. No books in some primary schools. So these are some of the issues that I'm waiting also to see.
Much as we appreciate the revenue drive of the FCT, within us, how do you defend the suspicion of people that it is exploitative? More so that people are left with no choice. You know, that is either you will be certified at a cost or you lose your CFO. Now, that is one question. The next one is on the design and construction of Vice President's residence. Now, I would like you to throw more light on this. Are we building a new residence for the Vice President, or we are renovating the existing one? More so that since 1999 to date, we've had, 4 Vice Presidents, and they were accommodated. And the other one, sir, is on construction of cultural center and Millennium Towers. From your explanation, that this initial provision of 9 billion is just part of the part payment, that you are going to enter into an arrangement with the contractor, to be paid from your IGR for the next 2 years, to ensure the completion of this. Does this not amount to anticipatory approval? You are already committing funds that has not been appropriated, because it's revenue that you anticipate, to earn in the coming years. So those are my questions. Thank you.
This is a very hard time that we're in now. Demolishing homes are not providing any way out where you have people move into. You just demolish their house. Now, Mr. Minister, what do you expect these people to do? Quite a lot of them are people who can't afford 3 square meal, and most of them are widows, and I am the voice of the widows and the voiceless. So please, I want to know what you plan to do for these people that will demolish their houses. Money is not paid to them. They have nowhere to go. Thank you.
We are working with the National Security Advisor and the SSS to see how we can come up with a better strategy in putting CCTV. But in doing that, we must also look at the cost. Yes, we want security, but if you don't have money, what do? So we'll look at the cost. If it's something we can carry, even if in the next 3 years, we're able to do that. So it's already in our plan. And I believe that the TEGA committee, the National Security Advisor, and the DGSSS and the others were set up. We believe their report will come out, and then see whether we can incorporate it in the 2024 budget. That is as regards to CCTV. Let me also thank the person who has appreciated us and let you know that we will sign CFOs for such division. When I was governor, it's on record from 2015 to 2019, I signed not less than 20,000 CFOs. It's on record. So I believe, by the grace of God, we still can do more. by the grace of God, we still can do more. On the issue of street lights, he said we should increase the budget. It's not increasing the budget. If the money is available, we will increase. It's not increasing. If we put 10 billion and the money is not there, it doesn't make any sense. We would not love to put street light everywhere in Abuja. Everybody would love that. But even putting the solar light is not just the problem. People have now turned to steal the street light itself. It's so terrible. You know, you spend money to provide light, to provide beauty, provide security. People are somewhere planning how to make sure it does not. I mean, and when you look at these things, you feel pain. You feel pain. And if you want to go and prosecute, before you know it, they've let off the hook. Because even if you jail them, what is the fine? 10,000 naira. They'll come out the same day. So we are working to provide street lights in all areas, but note that this is the setback. It's like we are doing road now. Look at the manholes. It's so terrible. You are sleeping in the night, somebody wakes in the odd hour to go and steal the manhole. And you chase them, prosecutors doing their best. They charge them to court. It's a billable offense. So we'll come back and meet with you and see what we can do. Let there be punitive measure. So that is on that. Demolition. We can't stop demolition. You see, demolition, you can't go and build an illegal place. Say, for example, here is mapped out to be a green area. Then on your own, you go and build. Then you want us to come and compensate you that we are demolishing. Illegality is illegality. But if we are building and we want to acquire your property, we'll pay. Take, for example, now, we are going to reconstruct Old Garki. Compensation has been paid since. The only thing remaining is the chief's palace, which we have paid, which I have approved 2 days ago. So I'm going to put it in the 2024 budget. If you check the second runway, we acquired land and resettled the people. We paid. And they're still there. And people, when you push them, that's why they start crying. We have nowhere to go. But you took the money. So the issue of economic hardship does not apply here. That one, that's what I can do. I have no pity for that. Demolition will continue. If, like yesterday, when I went for inspection, I saw all kinds of shanties everywhere. I said in the city, no. The development control, go and bring it down. Economic hardship does not make that the city should not look fine. No. If they are saying so, that because of economic hardship, you are selling corn, I agree. But when you peel the corn, you drop the refuse there. Who will come and carry for you? On the issue of design and construction of, CFO, whether it's not a distortion. Distortion against who? Extortion against who? If we are providing for security to prevent fraud, you should even be jumping that they have provided a measure that will checkmate frauds. They provide a measure that will improve our security. And also from there, we'll benefit from it. Collect tax and do some of the projects you want me to do. Where will I get the money? There's no 13% in Abuja now. The only oil here is land. You will get the CFO to do business. So I don't think there's anything about the extortion. There's no extortion. How much is it? Individuals go and pay 50,000 naira. Corporate body pay 100,000. What is extortion? To get things done very well. There's no extortion. I'm looking for improving security, I'm looking for improving my IGR, and then that will improve infrastructure in FCT. Construction of VP. You know, the VP residence was built by the military, the Abuja house. So the government then said, look, it will proper to build a more befitting residence for the VP. And that was in 2010 when this contract was awarded for the cost of 7 billion naira. And no money was, it's just like what they are building for the principal officers, presiding officers. The Senate President, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, the Deputy Senate President. You can see there, but it has been abandoned because no funding. No funding. It has been abandoned. But we would believe that next year we are going to incorporate it in our own statutory budget. Let us finish it. Even if they don't want to use it, you can turn it to a different thing, rather than abandon a project. So that is what is on ground, not that we are not innovating. It is a new job approved by First Executive Council in 2010. But we think that we should be able to finish it. And we are going to finish it and will be commissioned in May 2029. Then you talk about PPP on mass transit. Let me just, of course, there's no number of buses and taxis you can buy that will be enough. This is what government can provide. Some people are applying to have PPP with the FCT. So we encourage it. We encourage it because that will also help. But then we will know who are the drivers of those, because they have to be, what do you call it, a security profile. Well, you cannot bring any driver that has not been profiled. The driver must be profiled. The number of cars must. So these are the things. So we won't just say you are bringing vehicles and we'll allow you. No, we won't do that. We'll do it properly so that for security reasons too, we don't go into one chance.
Now, the minister was at the Senate Committee on FCT as well, shortly after his session with the House for the same purpose.
The chairman, recollect that sometimes ago, as the president presented supplementary budget, which the FCT under the national budget was given 100 billion. Mr. Chairman, if you look at that document, we did specify what that 100 billion will be used for. One of such is the metro line, security, and of course, provide infrastructure among the 6 area councils and other items. Today, Mr. Chairman, what we are doing is the statutory supplementary budget.
Honorable Minister, I commend your efforts so far and your boldness, but I also think that your priorities are not people-friendly. Number one, and also certain things. I was on the board of Abuja Investment, of which Abuja Mass Transit is a subsidiary. Those buses, we have done them before, and within a few years, by the time your tenure finishes, all those buses will be dead. In the last 6 years, it was worked on to concession Abuja Mass Transit. Back and forth, FCDA board sat on it. I don't remember the name of the company. They created a committee that recommended to the board to concession those buses. And those people, from what we gather, were going to put smart buses, and they were going to be using CNG. Now, I think that 3 billion could be better used some other way than putting them back in reviving those that, and truthfully, we assessed those buses and we were told just a fraction of them can actually be repaired. So you would actually need to buy fresh buses, which it doesn't make sense to do, to buy petrol buses or diesel buses at this point in time. That's one of my observations. Now, the other one, I want to go to the construction of the Millennium and Cultural Center. Sir, I understand that it's a laudable project if we had the money, but I think that right now, where we are in this country in terms of where the people are, they need more intervention. When these projects are seen being built, it just does not sit well with them because they don't benefit from it. They just see it as things we, the elites, do for our own self-aggrandizement or satisfaction or whatever. I really feel the budget, finishing all those other roads, I commend you, but those two projects, the cultural center and the rehabilitation of the buses, I would like you to do a rethink on them.
Thank you. What is their own priority?
Security, yes.
Government determines what's priority. We did not award this job. We cannot allow projects awarded by government to be abandoned. That's a waste of funds itself. You mean we started the project, spent about 40 billion, and then we'll abandon the project? That is not a priority. Cultural center for tourism, for even our own children to go and see. It is a priority. And it's a revenue source for the country. With all due respect, I do not agree that this is not a priority. If we can spend, if we will go and spend 40 billion naira starting a project, then midway, we'll come back to abandon that is not a priority. That is not correct. You talk about buses. I want to also inform. You see, government has a responsibility. If you want us first to say concession, people ask, yes, you can do concession, or you can allow PPP, have an arrangement of PPP. But before that, what have you done? The mere fact that there was an administration that he failed yesterday does not mean that this one we are in charge will fail. I have that capacity that it will work. If another person comes, it doesn't work, it's the person's business. While I was there, it worked. What you're talking about, Abuja investment, do you know the amount of litigation we have on all those concessions and the rest of it? Fine. It is not an easy thing. We are going to arrangement with PPP, but before that arrangement is put in place, government must also do something. At least to reduce the level of suffering. If we bring those buses and they apply to Gwagwalada, Yaya, who are the people living in Gwagwalada and Yaya? It's not the masses. I don't like being theoretical. I want to be practical. We are not doing this that it will be sustainable. We are going to enter a private agreement with people who will probably run it as a business. But at the interim level, you have to do something. We say we are going to remove Keke Napep in all those, what do you call it, Asokora and the rest of them. How do you remove them when there's no alternative? You must provide alternative first, then you now move them out. All we are providing cannot be enough, but we must do something before the private-public partnership succeeds. It's not an easy thing. How many people, before even the private people come, most of them look at the profit. Nobody will come and run it if it's not going to make enough money. There are people who have reason to talk about CNG, this and that. We're going to enter into all those things. But for now, you are entering to a Christmas period. What will happen? So we have all these considerations. So I think that for now, all we are doing, we think that it's for the interest of the residents. And with all due respect, when people talk of the common people, if there are no roads here, how will the common people go to school? How do you drive to school when there are no roads?
No, we are coming so that we don't just see. Madam, everything cannot be taken at the same time. Now we have also taken schools. In the national budget, it will provide 5 billion. What we have done now was to select about 20-30 schools to renovate and put it in. When I read Punch and saw the students, people were sitting on the floor. It was, how many months have I stayed in the office? 3 months. 3 months. 3 months. So, everything cannot be done just this supplementary budget to achieve something by May 29. Watch our 2024 budget. Look at the funding in education. Look at the funding in health and security. Then you begin to know, oh, really, we are thinking about the people. But what can we achieve now is what we are talking about. From now to so time, what we want to achieve. That's what we came from.
Honorable Minister, part of my takeaway from this is that we would like to encourage a situation where there will be more communication between the ministry, the FCTA, and the senator representing FCT, Distinguished Senator Ireti Kinjibe. I'm sure less than 24 hours ago, it was just probably yesterday, she was briefing the leadership on the need for us to ensure that there's adequate communication between your office and her own office. And I could see that playing out here. I'm sure if there's greater communication and better interaction going forward, she probably will even be in a position as the representative of FCT, educating the rest of us here as colleagues on some of the things being done. So I just want to commend that to you, Honorable Minister, going forward. And I think it's not just about only you, Honorable Minister, the bureaucracy of the ministry itself, led by the Permanent Secretary, should ensure that that happens. So from time to time, she's well briefed as to the goings on. Then to the rest of our colleagues, I also want to commend you for your diligence in trying to look into all these issues. But I do know that, as our distinguished chairman had emphasized, this is a supplementary budget. We'd rather have this supplementary budget considered and passed than the money just sitting there without it being properly appropriated so that they can implement those projects to completion. I think that is the big issue here. For now, my own request and appeal to our colleagues will just be that let's bring this to a close so that we can move on this supplementary budget and await the main budget of the ministry. Thank you so much, distinguished chairman.
I want us to thank the Honorable Minister and his team for the wonderful presentation. We are going to sit down as a committee to look at the presentation, and whatever we arrive at, we will communicate to the Honorable Minister and his team. So on this note, I will allow the Minister and his team to take their leave. Thank you.
And before we round off the program for today, let's take a little excerpt from an earlier event of the House. At the beginning of the week, a one-day retreat held for chairmen and deputy chairmen of all standing committees of the House. There, the Speaker, Mr. Tajuddin Abbas, announced that Nigerians would be provided the opportunity to participate in the consideration and passage of the 2024 national budget. He said to this end, a town hall meeting with stakeholders would be convened.
I insisted that this engagement should take place before the presentation and consideration of the 2024 budget by committees. As you know, Committees play a crucial role in the legislative process and have been called the engine room of the Parliament. Through committees, members develop subject matter expertise and undertake more detailed review and scrutiny of bills and other government policies. More critically, committees have contributed in no small measure to improving accountability through its oversight function. In line with our mantra, as the People's House, the House of Representatives is committed to greater and more transparent engagement with the public. This is necessary for reducing suspicion, building trust, and generating support for the work of the National Assembly. As we expect to receive the 2024 appropriation bill in the next coming few days, I wish to state that the House will convene a budget town hall meeting to enable citizens to make inputs into the 2024 budget appropriation. It is the first time such an engagement is planned at the national level. I invite our partners to work with us in preparing for a vigorous and an all-inclusive budget process.
This should be about the first time citizens would be participating in the process leading to passage of a national budget. Not a bad idea, if you ask me. The retreat, supported by Konrad Adenauer Foundation and Yaga Africa, was to prepare lawmakers for legislative tasks as heads of committees. And that's the much we can accommodate on this week's program. Thanks for your time. Do check out all editions of The Maze on our YouTube channel, ASO Radio and Television. Kindly like our page and do subscribe as well. We do this again Friday next week at 8 p.m. I am Rosemary UKOKO-TEGA.